We're the indie project Bee and Theo, and we've been living and travelling the world in vans for the past 6 years. We're currently renovating an abandoned stone barn in Portugal to turn into a beautiful tiny home for us and our cats Ginjey Bear and Furrnando. Follow our journey from the very beginning as we document the whole process of creating an off-grid home.
Good morning guys, welcome back to a brand new video here in sunny Central Portugal, and today I've got a long list of things that I need to tick off, including some work to be finished inside the barn before we leave and go back to the UK. I've just come and sat down in the shade under the veranda because it's currently 35 degrees outside and I've got a long list of jobs I need to tick off. So I need to stay cool, I don't want to overheat, drink plenty of water today, and I thought I'd give you guys a little update on Bee because I know you guys have been asking in the comments. I saw them in the last video and I know you really want to see her back in the videos, but unfortunately it's just going to take time until she gets better. There's nothing else that I can do. I'm doing everything I can, and your guys' comments are really supportive towards her, and that's also helping, but ultimately it's just going to take time. At the moment, you know, some days she's good, other days she's not, so it's a little bit up and down, but soon we'll be on our way back to the UK and she'll get to see her family, which is really going to help. So one thing I've noticed on a lot of our videos is a reoccurring question, and that question is, why is there no first fix electrics or plumbing in the building at this stage of the project? Because in a normal home build or house build, you'd have them in by now and that would all be ready to go, and probably all of the plumbing and everything would be under the concrete floor and the electrics would be in the walls, and I'm going to explain all about that later in the video. But first of all, I need to clear out this cubby hole because ever since we bought the land, I've never actually cleared this out. So I'm not sure what's actually in here, and I need room so I can get right to the back of it for one of the jobs that I'm doing today. I'm definitely going to put gloves on for this because, to be honest, I don't know what I'm going to find. And first up, look at that. This is like a mini scythe or something. That's really nice. It's got like string around the handle, a really intricate detailed wooden handle as well. And you can see there's some nice sharp bits on the blade. And I reckon that would be really nice as a decorative feature when the house is finished. Maybe we could hang it up somewhere just to have a little bit of history in this barn. We have such a throwaway culture nowadays. It's really nice to reuse and keep things to remind us how things used to be done. Just got things like old rusty hinges that probably would have been for a door or some sort of window. This is quite cool, check that out. This is a fork, so you can imagine, think back all them years ago, they would have used this to clear the land. And technology's come on a little bit, but these things are still useful and still live on today. When we first arrived and we opened up the barn, there was loads of these like chiseled out wooden, almost like handles, or, I mean, it's definitely got a handle within it for you to grip it, but I have no idea what this would have been used for. It's really pointy. there was loads of them. Some of them were sticking out of the wall, so maybe it was just to hang stuff on for animals to eat out of. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Maybe we can reuse some of this stuff. So this is probably one of the coolest things I've found, and this right here is made out of leather, and it's got all of this intricate detail and these metal buckles. It's really cool, and what this reminds me of is gaiters. When you go hiking, you wear them down here almost like shin pads when you're playing football, and it keeps all the ticks and debris off your legs, or if it's wet, keeps the mud off your trousers. But yeah, that's what that looks like. So if you guys know what this actually would have been used for, because maybe it would have just been the same thing, but it's like the first version, but you can really tell how old this is. So I'll definitely be keeping this. And then there's a big metal tray with just loads of different things in here. So we've got bits of piping, metal piping. We've got more, more hinges. Let me just pop that down. More hinges here. This is really cool. Some secateurs that look like they've seen better days. They're rusted together, but maybe a bit of WD-40 and we could get them going again. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Again, you can tell how old this is. There's no kind of like modern details on it at all. It looks very old. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Squarespace, who have sponsored today's video. If you don't know what Squarespace is, it's a fantastic online platform where you can build and design your very own website. Squarespace is super easy to use. There's loads of themes to choose from. It's completely customizable, as well as having drag and drop features so that you can build your own website really quickly and efficiently. We've been using Squarespace now for well over 4 years, and it's been really helpful to have all things indie projects in one place. One feature that I really like is the detailed analytics. It means I can get super geeky and check out where in the world you guys are actually accessing our website from. We've run a blog on there. We also have an online shop, and we even host our podcast on our website. So if you want to try out Squarespace, then click the link in our description for a 2-week free trial, as well as 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Go to squarespace.com/indieprojects and build your website today. And then last but not least, there's just lots of like wooden pegs, little metal tools and handles for things. And now I think I need to put a mask on because there's probably rat droppings and mice droppings in here. I don't want to get ill from that, so I'm going to put a mask on and clear this out properly. So now that I've finished clearing the alcove area out, it's actually a lot bigger and goes back further than I thought it did. It's a really usable space, and our final layout for our home is probably going to be a really nice relaxing lounging chair here, like an armchair, and then you can sit right next to this that we're going to turn into like a little bookshelf library area, so it should be really nice. And the next job is, you can see down here that there's some gaps. So I need to point in all of the gaps all the way into the alcove and up around this big slab of granite here. And I need to do that on both sides of the wall. Before I can mix up any mortar and point these areas in, I need to chip out all of the small stones that are blocking the way. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just scrape away, get rid of any stones, and then I can start pointing. Just found a spider sack with a dead spider in it. Ooh. A lot of it's actually really old mortar, so it's really easily coming out. There are some stubborn stones, but the mortar comes out dead easy. I've got to be a little bit careful here because there's one big slab of granite stone that's keeping this window from being open, so I've got to make sure that I don't take too much away that falls out. But if I point it from the inside and the outside, it's going to really strengthen it. So it will be fine in the long run. I've just got to be careful for now. So now it's time to mix up a batch of lime. It's exactly the same mix that I use for the plaster inside the barn, so it all ties in nicely and matches. First of all, I got to clean out the mixer because I left it for a few days and I should have cleaned it out at the end of the job, but I was completely knackered and just left it. So there's a little bit of lime stuck in the barrel. I'm going to clean it out and then get going. So I've just mixed up a nice creamy batch of lime, and as I said, it's the same mix as the plaster, but it's not as loose. So it's a little bit harder, really nice for pointing, and now I'm ready to get going. This mortar's going on really nicely. It's just the right consistency that I can shape it the way I want to shape it. And basically what I'm doing is I'm framing out this whole window frame so there's no cracks, there's no gaps, and it's completely sealed from the outside. And one thing I'm obviously trying to do is match the whole style of the plastering so it all blends into one. It's also a really tight space, so I have to get creative about where my arms go and kind of end up in weird situations like that doing the pointing. There's no rush. Get it right. Get it looking nice. So the gaps that I'm using are quite thick, so I'm using this thick pointing key. This is perfect because it's got a smaller bit at the top and it's wider at the bottom, so it fits all the gaps that I need to. As I say, it's quite thick inside. There's quite a lot of holes to fill. And then as I get to more these smaller areas, I've got a smaller pointing key. I don't know where I put it, down here. So I've got two different sizes, and then I can really get into all the fine gaps. Okay, so you can see inside I've done all the way around the frame, so all the way there like a big square, this side, and the bottom. And now I just need to do all the intricate bits around this little stone here. So this stone will sit in the middle and the mortar will go around it either side, adding a really nice little detail, and the same for the bottoms. So I've got a really fine pointing key now, just so I can keep the detail of this stone because it's so beautiful. I'm just pushing the mortar in between it. And you want to keep building it up, pack it right in. Slightly bigger pointing key now. So I've just finished doing all the pointing on this particular area. It's looking good, but it's still fairly rough. And that's because I've just done it with a pointing key. To finish it off, very much like Nick finished the plaster off with a sponge, I use a paintbrush for all my pointing, just to give it that really nice finishing touch, and it really does work. Just gonna scrape as much as this dried mortar that's just fallen onto this slab of granite off. So it's easier to clean when it comes to it. And now I'm just going to wet down the paintbrush just a little bit so it's nice and moist. And then what I can do is really finish it off nicely. It works a treat, it really does. I'm actually just going to go and get a brush because I can brush more of this out. And on the outside bits here, I'm trying to blend it into the plaster that's already there. It's quite important that it doesn't look like it's been done separately. So it all just flows into each other nicely. Curves around the stone. I think that looks pretty good. It's amazing what a difference this can make. So that took way longer than I thought it was going to take, but it's always the little jobs that just go on and on. But it's because basically I found some extra bits that I needed to do around the doorway. So I thought instead of leaving them, let's just get them all done and then they're out the way. I'll show you what I've done, but I'm really happy with how it's blended into the plaster. I'm so happy with it. It's drying out really nicely. You can see all the pointed details, and obviously it's a little bit of a different color right now because it's still wet, but once that's all blended in to the plaster and we actually paint it, it will look so nice. And then I had a bit here that I needed to do, some up here that actually go around the doorway. You can see there, it's where these two stones join and these two stones join. So I've done that, and then up here I've done the same, and then there was actually a little bit more down here that I needed to do, and that's not actually it. If I come around here, you will have seen I was working on this window as well, so I've done the same as I did on the other window frame, just boxed it all in really. All the diagonals are done and all the side pieces as well, so it's turned out really good. So I've just set up the scaffold, and the next job is to fit the next Velux window blind. So we've already done one on the other window and it looks really good, and it blocks the sunlight from coming into the barn, which is useful, keeps it nice and cool. But when we go away, we're not going to be able to keep the windows open like we usually do, because all the warm air rises and goes out of the barn. It keeps it nice and cool in here. We can't do that, so we thought what I'll do is I'll put the next blind on. It means that we can shut all of the light completely out of the building, which should still keep it nice and warm. And also the cool thing about these windows is they have a vent setting, so no rain can get in, but air can still circulate, which should really help. So here's the blind right here in its box, and I got a lot of comments on the last video about my socks and sandals. It's just the epitome of style. I know you guys are just jealous that you're not wearing socks and sandals. But it's just really comfortable. Even when it's warm, I just love wearing socks for some reason. Anyway, let's get this blind open and then we can get it fitted. Hopefully this goes as smoothly as the other one. I'm at a slightly lower level than where the mezzanine is. It was a bit easier last time because the mezzanine's a bit higher, but I'm going to be stretching, but it should be okay. So it's only been a couple of minutes and I've nearly finished the install. I've just got to basically slide this last bracket in place and then screw it down. I absolutely love Velux window stuff for this reason. Everything just clicks together, and when we were actually fitting the windows on the outside of the roof, it was the same system. Everything clicks together, there's a place for everything, and even the holes are like pre-drilled in some areas. So yeah, just got to put this in place and then I can try it out. Yes! You can see blue sky out of the window, and then if I pull this down, you get a lovely soft diffusion of light into the barn. I'm absolutely sweating buckets like crazy. My t-shirt is soaked. It's been a really productive day so far. It's a gorgeous evening now, and just walking out of the barn onto the veranda every time and sitting on the sofa, you just realise what a beautiful place this is going to be to live in. And I just found this spray bottle. It's like a mist water that you can spray to cool you down. Oh, and it's actually so nice. And I'm making sure I don't get any in my ears because obviously I've got an ear infection, and like a lot of you guys said, don't get any water in your ear. And I never do. That's why I wear my hat in a lake, because I never dip my head under the water, because I already have a perforated eardrum in my left ear, and I'm actually half deaf in my left ear as well. So I never get any water in there, but maybe some water did get in there and that's how I got the infection, but I don't remember how. Anyway, talking about water, I'm gonna go and get in a bigger body of water right now. But before I do that, I promise you guys that I talk about plumbing and electrics. So where all these stones are is a great big hole in the wall, and right there is where all of our plumbing and our electrics are gonna go into the building. And that hole comes into the building just down there, and this is where our kitchen's gonna be, just here. So all of our plumbing will come straight in to where our kitchen is, so we don't need to run piping all the way under the floor, because the only plumbing we need is going to be in that area. So as for electrics, we are going to run a solar system that's going to power our home, and we haven't installed it yet, and we haven't even brought it yet because there's no point, because it's just going to be sitting there. We've got other solar systems on the property, so that's what we're using at the moment, and we're going to fit that at the last possible moment before the floor goes in, because that is where our electrics are all going to be hidden under the floor. So we're basically going to have a false floor, we're going to have a wooden floor, so you have the concrete floor and then the insulation and then our floorboards, and between that will be all of our wiring. And for plugs and stuff like that, I'm thinking a cool idea might be to recess some plugs into the floorboards and then maybe have a cover, so maybe I can use the router and kind of make it so it sits really flush with the floorboard. I think that would be a really cool idea. So I've just come down to the pool so that I can have a dip, saves me going all the way to the lake. I haven't told you guys yet, but I filled the pool a couple of days ago and it's absolutely glorious. But I was just going to clean the top layer of muck off the water. Even though I've had it covered, ants like to crawl in there, so I've been scooping them out. and then I locked eyes with a massive spider, so now I need to try and get the spider out. There's little bugs swimming on the surface. Well, they're not really swimming, they're more like they're drowning. So I just need to scoop them out, and then I can tackle the beast. You can see it through the water just there. A massive great spider. I've just spotted another one over there as well. I don't know how they got in here. I need to build a better cover. Let's see if I can get it. Like a water spider or something. Oh, got it. It's in there. It's a beast. Absolute beast. There's one more over here. There we go. A few more ants. Job's a good one. That is a lovely temperature. I tell you what, it was such a good idea to build this pool before it got too hot, because a long hard slog of a day like today in the heat, it's so nice to come down here and just relax in the pool. It's such a pleasant temperature as well. It's not really shocking. It's perfect temperature because I guess it's a small pool, so it heats up a little bit from the sun, and the view's just marvelous. I'm just gonna sit here now and enjoy myself and just relax a little bit. The view never gets old. Look at that. That's not a bad view to look out from the pool, is it? All I need now is a nice cold drink. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed this video. I feel like I've achieved a lot, and I'm ticking things off each and every day so that we can go back to the UK. And like I said before, our travel is now booked, so we have a date that we're aiming for, and we need to be at the ferry port because we're getting the ferry from Spain back to the UK, and we're actually taking the van and the car. So there's lots of things to get ready and get prepared for that, especially the van. So make sure you tune in for the next video, and thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it.